All right, what's up, gang? So, no lift today. Got an off day, so I guess you could call this a mini podcast. Just trying to keep up with kind of the daily posts, and I was thinking about it, and I think it would be really cool just to whether the YouTube channel kind of takes off with viewers or not. Like, I have a steady job, at least for the moment. I tenured teacher, and that's going really well. So I was thinking about what could be like a benefit of just documenting every day of training, either with like training itself and a little bit of like talking to camera, or just kind of keeping note of even the off days with like a little mini podcast. And I decided like it'd be fun, and it's 15 minutes out of the day where I can just kind of keep updated. And I was trying to think about why this would be important, and I was thinking about my kids, and everyone's like grandpa or their parents have those cool little like mementos of things that they did, that they held on to, whether it was trophies or pictures or just kind of anything of that nature. And I feel like having a YouTube channel where I documented like a year or 2 years of just like training as a dad, as a husband, as a teacher, and weightlifting, and then coaching volleyball as like my two things that I do. It would be cool to have just a bunch of documentation of that with like audio and video. And so just gonna try to be consistent with that. And if I miss a day because we're doing like family stuff, or technology is not working, whatever, it's not a big deal. But when I can, I think it would be cool to just keep documentation of that. So again, it is an off day, and I was just thinking about like some things that I've heard about training that I found very profound or interesting. And one of them was comparing Olympic weightlifting as something that's closer to shot putting or discus throwing or hammer throwing. It would be closer to that sport-wise than it would be to powerlifting. And I vibed with that. I think like hang cleans from a strength and conditioning perspective, yes, those can fit into your strength and conditioning program. But I do think if you are someone who is solely trying to improve their Olympic weightlifting at the heart, you almost have to treat it like you are practicing your sport, rather than just going through a percentage-based weight or like just lifting program, just trying to get jacked and stuff, because you're not going to get a whole heck of a lot of hypertrophy from like snatch sets or clean and jerk sets. I mean, if you play football, you're going to get just inherently a little bit in better shape from training that sport, and just training in general, practicing. You're running down the field with the ball, you're making moves, jumping over people and stuff, Saquon Barkley, whatever it may be. And inherently, just from doing snatch and clean and jerk, you're going to get stronger in those facets too. But there should be it's almost like separated, like strength and conditioning centered around making that better, but it is a bit separate. So putting value into kind of separate buckets rather than just treating them all as the same bucket. And so that's what kind of like, I don't know, that's how I think about it. And if nothing else, even if I'm completely wrong, it almost kind of creates that level of importance for me to not miss my squats and not miss my pulls, and making sure I'm doing my accessory work and my bodybuilding and my ab work. And I've noticed when I separate those buckets, my training and my numbers do better as far as progression goes. And I think about my snatch and clean and jerk sessions as like sports training, and it puts my mind a little bit more at ease, whereas I'm not as defined by those percentages or the numbers that I'm hitting. I'm just practicing and I'm getting better at my sport. And then the strength and conditioning outside of that with your squats, pulls, bench, pressing, overhead pressing, your bodybuilding exercises, all those things that I talked about, those are pretty easy to get to because it's not a sport. It's just you're going through those numbers that you have to get, and you're just getting stronger in that way, so that when you go to your weightlifting practice, you're able to do it with higher efficiency or like a better bar path, all those things. And so it's just easier in my mind if I separate those buckets and give each of them the love that they deserve, rather than letting my mental on one affect them all, because I'm keeping them all in the same bucket. So take that for what it is. If you subscribe to that same idea, great. If you don't, then we will happily agree to disagree, which is totally fine. But yeah, so I was thinking about like a podcast, and I don't know if it could be like a weekly thing, but I know a couple of my teammates like Rick and Kevin from the Chopstick Barbell guys, I think they would be great personalities to have, but it would come down to just kind of setting up a Skype call and figuring out some topics, maybe from viewer suggestions or something like that, about what we should talk about. And I think a couple of those topics could be like, how's the program that we're following for Chopstick program or for Chopstick Barbell? Because right now it's a really good one, and it's not like the programs that we followed in the past have been bad. They just have different goals. But I feel like this winter build that we've been following with a little bit different of a style, and I'll explain what style I'm talking about, but having a little bit different style is something that, you know, a lot of people could benefit from. So the way it goes is thinking about squats or your snatches. We are working up to like maybe like a heavy triple, and then off of that triple that you hit, then you're gonna do sets at that weight for like an 8x1. So kind of drop sets, but it's more of like a drop in the actual repetitions that you're doing. And like, say you hit a certain number on snatch, that's where you're going to do that same number for your snatch balances. And so I would relate it closer to RPE versus like a percentage based thing, because it's kind of like, what do you have for the day, and then the other lifts are determined off of that. And I really like it. I've never done a program like this, and if I had to, just because I've been known to be someone who likes to go a little bit heavier than like percentage prescriptions, and don't get me wrong, like there are still some percentages in the program, and that's normal. Like most programs, even if they're RPE, they're still going to have some percentages in there, but yeah, I really like it. And I've been known to have maybe a few more max outs than prescribed, and this kind of allows me to get that feel for tasting something heavy, but then still getting my volume in. And I've noticed that when I'm allowed to do that for program, and then doing my technique work off what I'm able to do, I've even had a tendency now to go a little bit lighter and work more on technique. So I think it's made me a better weightlifting athlete in general. And been training without a belt, been training 10, 12, 13 kilos down from what I'm normally used to training at, but I'm still hitting really good numbers for training days. And so all of that combined with lifting at 5 or 6 in the morning, I would say we're in pretty good shape right now. But a lot of that then comes to mindset, and I didn't have this at first, but I think when people are starting a new program, or they're kind of in the midst of their training cycle, they want all of this progress all at once. And some of the best athletes that I've met, just kind of training is just training. Like their whole life doesn't revolve around it. And I think it's easy in the days, or the current days, of like YouTube and just all this content, Instagram, TikTok, and you see everyone's highlights. You think that your training sessions need to be a highlight reel every time, but in no way in any kind of literature would you be able to get away with absolutely improving your top numbers every single training session. And I think that deters people in the long run, whereas the people that are most successful are super at ease and at peace with just doing mundane work. And I know it's kind of like a cliche of mastering the mundane, but it goes a long way in weightlifting. You have to do pretty much the same movements every single day, and I think the boredom of that for some people can almost drive them to injury or kind of getting sick of programming, program hopping, coach hopping. And I'm not going to say that I've never been there before, but as I've gotten older and gotten to be a much more mature lifter, I'm more at peace with off days. I'm more at peace with just following a program and not having really anything to write home about as far as hitting new numbers. And that's just a maturity thing. And when you're younger, you can get away with maxing out more, but also you're going to struggle learning the correct technique. And then when you get older, you might be less capable of changing that technique because all you're used to is just going heavy, having a lot of variation in what your lifts normally look like, and you've cemented the fact that your technique has come to be what it is because you didn't listen to your coach earlier on, and then it's really, really tough, and you're trying to adjust your technique while still improving. So yeah, it's just easier to take things day by day and really not put a lot of stock into the individual training sessions. And your max out days and your competition days are really where you get to show off mastering all that mundane. And I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot better at this and making the realization. And I just try to, impress upon the younger athletes on our team kind of the values and the lessons learned from stuff like this. So yeah, that's kind of the discussion for today. We are traveling, and so I'm going to try to get my bodybuilding in tomorrow on Thanksgiving morning, either that or tonight. But I really need to work on my push-ups and hit chest. And then I need to do my shoulder exercises. My legs are okay. I might do some lunges still to get some like single leg, maybe some single leg RDLs too. And I'll try to shoot the video of my bodybuilding exercises, but I don't know how capable I'm going to be able to get some of that work in. But I do need to hit shoulders, chest, and then single leg low back and single leg quads. So that's what I'll have to do. And then I'd love to get 2 more sessions in a gym before this week is up. I don't know how possible it's going to be, but I'm going to try my hardest. I'm going to bring my weightlifting shoes up to northern Minnesota, where we're going to be staying with family, in the hopes that I can get a training session in. Now, will this training session happen? I do not know. But I'm going to have them there as an option, and just praying that it works out, that I could get, at the very least, like a snatch and squat session in like an hour or 45 minutes, just to kind of touch a bar. But again, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and it's one day of training that I missed out. And it's probably going to be for something good, like spending time with family, which, I don't know if you know this, but family time is a little bit more important than your weight room session for one day, and that's okay. So I'll keep you guys posted with that, and like I said, just gonna be making more of these mini podcasts, and then if we want to cover a topic with some of my weightlifting teammates, or maybe talk volleyball, because I'm also a coach for volleyball. If there's any volleyball topics that I want to bring up, maybe I'll grab someone that I know and we can discuss that. So yeah, I will catch you guys later. I hope everyone has a fantastic Thanksgiving. And if you're on a bulk, enjoy yourself. And if you are maintaining or on the cut, just know that this is one of the best holidays to have a ton of very viable and close to protein options to still stay on track with your goals. So yeah, catch you guys later.